Scanning for audio.
Would you care for some tea?
Hello and welcome to a Tin Dog Podcast, Smith 1.3, or Victory of the Daleks.
Winston Churchill.
Doctor, is it you?
Cabinet War Rooms, right?
Yep. I have something to show you. Our new secret weapon!
This is one of my iron sights.
You're what? I am your soldier.
He didn't invent them. They're aliens.
They will win me the war.
They're up to something, but what is it? What are they after?
I've defeated you time and time again. I saved the whole of reality for you. I am the Doctor. And you are the Daleks.
Behold the restoration of the Daleks.
Before I ramble insanely about various things that I'm sure you know I'll be rambling about, I just want to start off by saying, after last week's question to all of my listeners saying, would you like a Tin Dog shop where you can buy mugs and hats and t-shirts and the like? Well, there now is one. Simply visit the Tin Dog Podcast main page, tin-dog.co.uk, and it's there. It's on the right-hand side, next to the donate button. At the moment, there are 3 different t-shirt designs. 2 with a catchphrase. The first one, I've rambled, and the Tin Dog sign underneath. The second, be seeing you, again with Tin Dog written on the back. And the third one, the blueprints for the original K9, together with the Tin Dog Podcast web address. That one's on white, the other 2 are on black. And the same design, that's the blueprints, are available on the mug. So, if you're interested in that sort of thing, why not head over to the Tin Dog Podcast apparel store? Again, of course, remember that Whostrologies are still available, now on their new website, whostrology.com. Oh yes, it's all go over at Tin Dog Towers. And remember, in 2 weeks' time, I will be attending Doctor Who at Fab Cafe in Manchester, where many, many Doctor Who guests will be. I look forward to seeing you there, and if you have booked after hearing about it from me, please mention it to the organisers. Hopefully I'll be able to do something for the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance as well, but we'll see. Anyway, enough nonsense. How about this? Right. Now, you know I'm going to talk about the episode. But before I do, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room. It's not even an elephant. It's just a huge, annoying thing. I need to rant about the new Daleks. Okay, are we ready? Then I'll begin. What the hell were they thinking? According to The Confidential, they're actually designs for more differently evolved Daleks. God help us if we ended up with those. I mean, you are talking to some guy who was actually looking forward to seeing the Spider Daleks after the Paul McGann series. God, I was very wrong. These things are monstrosities. The Daleks are supposed to be short and squat. They have a Napoleon complex. These things are just giants. They're not even as cool as like a redesigned Beetle or a redesigned Mini. No, we had a redesigned Dalek in 2005. They look great. These things are... Well, Steve Jobs has been given the designs for the original Daleks. He's borrowed Cusack's stuff and gone, no, why don't you have this? The Eye Dalek. Yeah, that's what they are. They're the Eye Dalek. Now, I have heard them called Teletubbies with chickenpox. I can see your point. They're ridiculously colourful, but they are just like the range of iPods. They're shiny, they're plastic, they're just plain awful. This lot haven't seen war. This lot are the generals who sit in little tents at the back. They're just wrong. The neck pieces are wrong. The eye stalk is wrong. It's just wrong. They're like when you're a kid and you go to a fairground and your parents go, look, a Dalek. And some idiot has produced one out of fiberglass, something that looks a bit like a Dalek, in order to get kids in, and you just look up and you go, no, it's not. It's like an art project. Oh my God, it was awful. Was Cusack even consulted? I know in the late 80s he was asked if he was given the same specs, how would he design a Dalek now? And those drawings do exist on the internet, and they do look very different, but they don't look like this. apart from the venting at some point. And what's all that about? Is that in case they've got wind? Now, we can salvage this. We can take the Daleks and make them like Queen Daleks, that these ones give birth to ordinary warriors. But please, put the design back. Like Moffat says.
It's all new Doctor Who. What's the other thing we haven't changed? Let's change the Daleks too. We wanted them bigger and more colourful, and we wanted more of them.
Why shouldn't you do it? Because it's wrong. I feel genuinely bad for the Dalek Builders Guilds. Some of them are going to have to build these things for conventions. Well, rather them than me. They're big, lumbering, nasty pieces of work. If this is the price we pay for high-def TV, it's just not worth it. Give us back our standard definition Daleks. Apparently, the Daleks have names, all 5 of them. They are Dipsy, Lala, Tinky Winky, Poe, and the Eternal. Vaguely mysterious? I think not. Right, enough ranting. I'm calm enough to talk about the actual episode now. Victory of the Daleks. Right, this is a story with some flaws, apart from the ones we've just talked about. But the flaws exist on a very specific level. Doctor Who is a children's show, despite what all of us old school fans, us 30-somethings, believe. We are not the target audience, no matter how much we wish we were. Doctor Who takes us back to a time when we were safe and we were children. That is at its core what Doctor Who does best, which is why it will always disappoint on some levels. If you can suspend your disbelief, you can enjoy it on the level it's actually intended. Right, where was I? Well, I suspect this will be just as much of a ramble as usual. But like I said, Doctor Who is a kids' show. We've got to get used to that. But in this case, Doctor Who is a Sunday afternoon war movie, and that's where the research seems to have come from. Here, it's Churchill of legend. It's not the Churchill who in the 20s and 30s wanted to bomb the miners during the strikes, or turn on his own people. Churchill is admittedly a very complicated person, but here we're presented with almost a caricature, but not quite. He was disliked by a lot of people. He was also adored by many others, as many a Conservative Party leader would be. But think about it for a moment. His line about giving the devil a reference. He could win the war with the Daleks, the Ironsides. So if the Doctor had been more than a month late, because let's face it, they were just hanging around, waiting for him to give his testimony in order to activate the pepper pot thing, they would have hung around, messing up the timeline, and the English and the Allied could have won the Second World War so much sooner. That's a bit of fan fiction waiting to happen. This has been written by Mark Gatiss, and I love Mark Gatiss's work. All we have to remember is this is more akin to Boy's Own Adventure than to a historical document. This is about a man who travels in time in a blue box, after all. The khaki Daleks. Superb. And let's face it, a lot of people are going to have issues with Spitfires in space. For a start, what made them go forward? And also, how did the gravity bubble engines get built? They only had 10 minutes. Spitfires aren't based in central London. They're based usually in Norfolk or the surrounding areas on the south coast. So not only did these guys have to get them off paper, had to get them built and had to get them out there, unless you've got someone with a time machine to help. Oh, hang on. Perhaps there was a little bit of help from a time machine or something. Prototypes must have existed somewhere. It's nice to note that when Star Wars was being made, George Lucas had all of the live-action bits shot, and none of the special effects. When he was showing the film to his friends, he took footage from World War II dogfights and inserted it into Star Wars. So in many respects, a lovely postmodern way, we've gone full circle. Because here we have an apparent dogfight, which is wrongly named by everyone involved, because a dogfight involves 2 parties, and to all intents and purposes, the Dalek ship is more of a Death Star than a fleet of counter-attacking TIE fighters. But let's not be pedantic. Oh, hang on, we're Doctor Who fans. Let's be pedantic. A missed opportunity was when all the lights came on. It wasn't Bill Pertwee, who's still alive, from Dad's Army, shouting, "Get that light out." I wonder if he was available, or even if he was considered. I'm sure the people over at the Dad's Army podcast will have a thing or two to say about that. It's got many faults, but you can't see them. Yes, history's been blurred, but hey, I don't mind. This is Doctor Who. This is not an A-level history syllabus. Many of its faults consist of, well, that... Oh, I'm sorry, it's very annoying, and I'm not going to go on about the Daleks anymore. But that man, the robot, he definitely wasn't chameleon, but he was slightly annoying. Bill Patterson, the guy who played him, is a very good actor and has been in lots of other great shows. But the idea of talking to a bomb in order to talk it out of exploding comes straight from Dark Star, and we all know how successful that is at the end of Dark Star. The guy is basically a bomb. Giving some emotional journey for him is a bit silly. And also it's a bit of a design flaw on the side of the Daleks. Surely you could just make him detonate. Is this the guy, the strange Scottish guy, who goes on to run Torchwood 4 in Scotland? Or, more likely, does this guy try and find the love of his life and discover, rather surprisingly, that the person whose memories he had stolen was already there? Again, that's probably a short trip's waiting to happen. On the subject of stories taken to their logical conclusion, Amy does not know what Daleks are.
You're worried about the Daleks?
I'm always worried about the Daleks.
It'll take time though, won't it? I mean, there's still not many of them. They'll need a while to build themselves up.
It's not that, there's something else. Something we've forgotten, or rather you have.
Me?
You didn't know them, Amy. You'd never seen them before, and you should have done. You should.
Now, admittedly, if you look at the new ones, we don't know what Daleks are either, but that's not what I'm talking about. She has no memory of the invasion, the 12 planets appearing in the sky, and to be honest, she's acting like people acted in the 2005 series, where they were running around saying, no, there's no such thing as aliens. That is brilliant. That is what Doctor Who should be. That is the reset I wanted all along. I'm very happy about that. I like it when people move in secret, but look at the logic. If the Daleks didn't invade, if the 12 planets never happened, Torchwood was never destroyed, Unit was never depleted, and when the 456 invaded, Unit could turn up with the Valiant and just kick bottom, thus leaving us, all you little fangirls out there, with an alive Yanto. That's an alive Yanto. It's a small little thing that we can all come back to, and will probably be largely ignored, because in this alternate timeline, that wiggly crack has probably got more to do with it than anything else. I know this was sold to us as a remake of Power of the Daleks. Daleks wandering around saying things like,
Would you care for some tea?
Are just great. They are your soldier. They are your servant. It's just brilliant. Only spoilt by the ludicrous design and things that really we shouldn't take too seriously. And so I'll fade away. Next week marks the return of the Stone Angels.
River?
Follow that ship. What do you know of the Weeping Angels? But it's just a statue.
Until you turn your back.
A stone angel amongst stone statues.
Perfect hiding place. We're all in terrible danger.
Keep looking, it can't move if you're looking.
Doctor!
Don't blink, Amy, don't even blink.
The time will be upon us. The time of angels.
So obviously, next week's Tin Dog podcast will be a review of The Creature from the Pit, so that I can review both episodes of the Stone Angel stories together as one story. So until next week, be seeing you. You have been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. Doctor Who and its associated shows are all trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Contact us at tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk.